you're going to see some bare ground. So this is where we need some improvement. But I think this is definitely the worst you're going to see. And it was seeded into a King's Agri-Seed mix of a bunch of different, with clover, ryegrass, some different things. But this paddock here, when we first started, we brought in our two herds of cows, and this was a close by paddock that before we had the rest of the fencing set up. So this got abused a little more. We gave them a couple days to just adjust to be close to the barn and not have to walk very far until we knew they weren't going to be running off to the neighbors. So yeah, so basically we started, and that's where we outwintered our heifers because of the barn issue we had. The deal was we were going to start building the barn in October. They were going to have it up by December 1st. Heifers would be in and out of the barn during the winter, and then when the barn came down, we had to outwinter, and it's pretty windy and can be pretty rough here in the wintertime. So so they outwintered up there, and we hope to renovate that pasture here shortly. So
and how are you going to renovate it?
Well, just probably we may have to try to get the compaction out of it. So I don't know if we need an aeration machine or something like that. We did bale graze some of it this winter, so there should be enough organic matter there. It's just it's a little heavier soil right there, and it just seemed to compact more. So or we'll just maybe let the land, maybe give it a big rest period, and let the land do the work itself. So we'll see. We'll just monitor. So we've just been marching the cows down. So these, basically everything we have here, we can cut perpendicular. So we can cut into 3 days worth of forage. So we've tried not to have them on that, or work without a back fence for no more than 3 days. So cut this in 3 days, cut the next one 3 days. And we have been clipping, just to try to keep things, keep things neat and tidy, and try to get a little better regrowth. So eventually, if we don't have to clip as much, that'd be great. It'd be one less time we'd have to fire the tractor up. But for now, we want to get that refusals, the older refusals cut off. So what happened is we had heifers start marching through, pregnant heifers, and then we brought the herd in and we shifted the heifers out, and now we're back grazing the second time around on with the milk cows, with the milk herd on land that the heifers grazed first. So we've been marching a little slower because with that, like I said there was a lot of brown here a couple days ago, and then we got the rain. So I was really trying to think ahead and say, okay, instead of just going to where I'm out of grass, I just want to plan that I can have 2 weeks of grass ahead of me, and then this really shot back up over here, which hopefully we can graze in about 2 weeks from now if it keeps growing. So
water access for them in the individual paddock?
So we just, right now, I had plans of having a big water tub in every paddock, and right now I have one water tub that we just move around. We have a black pipe running on top of the ground with tees, and we're just moving that to where it needs to be.
So what happens with freezing temperatures?
Oh, that'll just gravity flow. We'll just we'll just unplug it, unhook it, and it'll just gravity flow out. So we had that for heifers, and even if there's a little water left in there, as long as it's drained out, we could blow it out with air, but I don't even think it's necessary. So we won't use those water tubs in the wintertime. So because they'll be up close to the barn. So.
How about the shade access in the real hot weather? Do you find them seeking the trees? And
well,
grazing,
they will. Like I said, we've had the gates open. We've had kind of just really wanted to see what the cows will do on their own, and if they go out in the morning, depending on what day it is, they've like I was saying before, they've just gotten a little lazy the last week or two with that nasty hot stress we had 2.5 weeks ago. But they'd be out 9:30, 10 o'clock. A couple of them come back, and then by 11 or noon, it seemed like the rest of them would just come back. So I don't have a lot of shade. We spent plenty of money on that barn. What I've loved, I read out a lot of articles in Graze and different magazines, people that outwinter, people that have the cows out. I think it's great. But for me, I wanted to fail safe that if the cows need to be in that barn during mud season, when it's hot in the summertime, that they could just go back there and utilize that. So, hey, they're out all night long, they're out in the mornings. If they want to go back to that barn, that's why we built it. Yeah, A, for wintertime, but B, for summer. Really love some of the silvopasturing ideas that people have and that people have implemented. We didn't have we didn't have anything in here. Woods are down there, woods are way up top. It's not real conducive to incorporate that yet. Possibly across the road we could do some of that in the future, but our main core of paddocks here, they don't have shade. So they'll go back to the barn, be there for afternoon milking, and then right back out to grass. So the jerseys, we're mainly jerseys. They'll obviously for anybody who knows, the cow breeds, they're gonna weather they're gonna hold out in the heat a lot longer, and that's why we're primarily jersey based here. Holsteins are gonna be fighting for the shade. Jerseys will still be grazing for a lot longer. So
one other thing, in fact, we'll talk about this a little bit when we get into the breeding for success here, but more broadly across forage-based farms, just the different things that you're looking for. In terms of breeds, can anybody tell me what the most scientifically determined heat-tolerant breed of dairy cow is? Okay. Alrighty. No, it would be Guernsey. Guess what the most prevalent breed of dairy cow was in the United States before the 1940s? Guernsey. I'm a big Guernsey proponent. However, well, see, that's the thing. Yeah, see, the Guernsey breed has devolved, right? Now they look like razor blades that have been stacked together. They're so damn narrow and frail, and they don't really work, the modern Guernsey. But there are places you can find actual Guernsey cows that actually work on grass. And that's something that some different folks are looking at doing. But we're going to talk about that more. Why don't we, yeah, we're going to head down and kind of look at some of these paddocks that have been not clipped but have been grazed, and then we're going to swing back up and have lunch. How's that sound?
One part-time, so, and then a couple part-time milkers filling in. So, yep. So this is what we're kind of getting into now. And just like I said, there's not a lot of vibrant with all that lack of rain. Not that lush pasture, but going through, we're giving them. We're not super tight on them right now. We're just letting them have a little more. There's the temporary fence there. Give them probably a little more than they need, so they don't run out of grass. We're still learning, still trying to to get the hang of how much grass they need on a daily basis, because you think you got it figured out and then you're either short or too much. So so we're just we're clipping, have a little extra organic matter going back in the soil, and go from there. So this was actually a new seeding piece a few years back too. So you won't quite see the ground coverage that you would in the old hay fields.
So the cows you purchased, were they grazing herds? Were they organic?
Yeah, they were certified. Yep, they were certified organic, so we could bring them in, day one and put them right in the system. Now, I located those herds over the winter time, early spring. I didn't really see their pasture management. Didn't see their, one was out of Orwell, Vermont. The other one, Central New York. How well they were grazing. Who knows? So
we just had a beef grazing meeting, and the beef cows were kind of playing around with the stem of Canada thistle and stealing out of each other's mouth,
Huh.
So you ever think about like adding goats to teach animals how to graze, or?
Oh, I think multi-species grazing is a really cool thing. I don't even know if I can wrap my head around it right now though. But yeah, if you want to do your internship here next summer, that'd be awesome. You come in and help us with it. How's that sound?
All right.
But there's been a lot of work. You don't need one species to teach another, although that can work. But if you take a group of 10 heifers and you follow Kathy Voth's, you know, Cows Eat Weeds book, you know, step-by-step instruction, within 5 days you've got a group of cattle that are eating Canada thistle, bull thistle, whatever, and they teach. The best group to teach is pregnant heifers, and then they will teach their calves, but they also go back out into the herd and they teach the rest of the herd, because hey, we learn by seeing and doing, right? And when you have pregnant heifers being taught to eat noxious weeds, there's a biofeedback loop, and so the calf inside the cow, or the lambs inside the ewe, or whatever, they are actually already learning what's going on in that thistle plant, which is very high in protein, high in zinc, high in a lot of trace minerals. They're already learning that. And when they hit the ground and they're born on pasture and the dam is going to, I mean, I've got 3-day-old calves. They're not getting the bulk of their nutrition from pasture, but they're grazing. They're already picking. And by the time they're 3 months old, probably half of what they're taking in nutritionally is pasture. Canada thistle on my farm is not a weed, it's a forage. Bed straw is only a weed if you're making hay, because it doesn't ted out, right? It just makes these clumps that move from one place to another and then create a rotten spot in your round bale. But if your animals are grazing, there's no such thing as a weed, really. Poison ivy, awesome. It's a fantastic forage. Giant hogweed, it's an awesome forage. You know.
What about brambles?
Sure. Yeah. The thing is, once you get your soil microbial community jump started and your soils are truly mineralized, then no matter what is growing on the soil is a healthier plant. So the secondary compounds that the plant would create as a protectant, because plants can't get up and run away like prey animals can. They either have thorns or spines or secondary compounds that make them unpalatable. When the soil is healthy, those plants are not stressed. Therefore, they are not producing those compounds at the same levels, and you get a benefit when the animal eats them. The other thing that happens is the more diverse the forages in the stand, the more counterbalancing you get. And Fred Provenza out at Utah State and his graduate students, mostly his graduate students, are doing a lot of work looking at what happens when you have like bird's foot trefoil grazed by sheep or cattle in advance of being put into Kentucky 31 fescue that is highly noxious endophyte, alkaloids. The compressed tannins in the bird's foot trefoil combine in the rumen with the alkaloids in the fescue, neutralize those alkaloids. The compressed tannins are neutralized. When they combine, you get a bypass protein. So not only is it a win-win, it's a win-win-win. Say that 7 times fast. It really benefits the animal. We humans want neat monocultures. Nature wants really diverse ecology. And that happens at the soil level first, and then the plants go on from there. But this is, so when would you clip this, Eric?
So this could have been clipped today even, but probably another grazing on this yet. Probably tomorrow. Yeah.
And what are you seeing? I mean, they were out here, they were locked into this last night.
Yep.
What are you seeing for trample, I mean, this is a pretty, obviously they've got a lot of room here. This is pretty typical of what you're seeing for trample.
Yeah, well, we probably got a little big. You know, we're not probably. We're definitely probably a little more size than we wanted to here, but they seem to trample down pretty good, and that's why we're clipping. We can add some organic matter to some of this land, and right now we're not, like I said, grazing. Our whole grazing scheme here. I mean, we have so much to learn and so much to get better on. I mean, I won't even start to say we've got it figured out, but so. You know, what I think, what our goal here was I couldn't wait to get back to this paddock, because we were, 2 weeks ago, this was looking lush green, and we had, then just the dry weather caught up with us, and now it's not so lush and green. So, you know, we're not grazing, you know, we're on a high 30-day rest period here. You know, not a 24, not a whatever, but I really I don't want to sacrifice, I want to give more rest to this land this first couple of years. I don't want to hit it early. I want to give a little more rest. You know, we've got some spots to fill in here. So I just was trying to avoid coming back on an early rest period. So we're giving them a little more than they need, or a little more than they really need, but to hopefully that'll pay back next year or another grazing. So that's kind of why we've done it. And right or wrong, I don't know. I'll tell you next year. I'll tell you a couple of years down the road. So, but again, I was talking to somebody, and that's really, we had so much energy focused on getting the facility up, getting running, getting the cows in, all the changes up there. Now we can take a step back. Just this last week. Okay, now we got to focus our energy on the grazing side. So. So that's where, you know, keep your phones on. I'll be calling all you folks to figure out what I should and shouldn't be doing out here. So, I mean, I mean, you've seen it. Here's the good, bad, and the ugly. What do you think we should be doing? Should I be tightening these girls up for a shorter period of time? Should we be not clipping? Should we be, you know, what should we be doing? What do you guys think? What do you like for rest periods? Is it all variable? I mean, what's some of the, what can I get back for feedback here? What we're trying to accomplish, because again, our goal is still to utilize as much grass as we can without running out of grass.
Chuck, what do you say? You've been grazing for 20 plus
what
years.
I'd say is I made the same mistake. This should have been hayed, and then you should let it grow back and let them graze it.
Yeah.
I have a field where my cows are right now. It's probably this tall, mostly clover, and I hayed it the first time around.
Yeah.
And so.
Do you know
that's
like what date you cut it roughly, or what week, or?
That would be like the first week in June.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you'll hit it when?
They're grazing it right now.
So it's about 45 days rest.
Because it was so dry, like
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah.
So actually, like last year, I wouldn't have grazed it because I wouldn't have had to get that far away.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now that's where they've been this week, and they'll be there next week.
Okay.
They just keep same as this. I just keep growing.
Check. Yeah.
You know.
Now, how long do you go without a back fence? Like how?
Yeah, my problem is my farm is so long and skinny. I can never have a back fence.
Okay.
Or unless I forced them to stay out there, or
Stay out
built a
there,
big
okay.
huge flag.
So they might
You know.
be able to come back on for a week on what's already grazed. Or
Yeah,
more?
even two.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
they're just going out. Probably a little narrower than this looks, all the way up
Sure,
three-quarters
yeah.
of a mile. You
Yeah.
know.
Okay. And what do you see? What do you see for rest time? Do you see them hitting that a little bit, grazing over that again, or? Do
Well, as
really-
they come back down, they pick it where they've been, but they pretty much, because it's up and then it's flatter, they stay up at the top, and there's
They
a
do.
water tub up there all
Okay.
day. I have to go get them with a four-wheeler; they'll just stay there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you notice places where they overgraze?
Yeah. See, on the main hill, it's divided into three sections. The main hill to the right, where they go up, they always, because they can't ever get to where it plateaus. It's always uphill.
Yeah.
They'll come back down in the afternoon and hang around at the bottom.
At the bottom, right?
Yep.
Cows are like water.
Yep.
The pool at the bottom, right? Yeah.
And they can go to the barn, but they'll just go to the bottom and stay there because the barn is back up the other way.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Chris.
I would graze it completely different.
Okay.
This is a new seeding. You're trying to build organic matter. I would do exactly what you did. Let it go to seed. I would actually let it get browner. So I had a seed bank that can automatically reseed itself next time I come around, or even next spring. The only issue with this is they are not going to eat a lot, just like you're seeing here. Part of that's also because of the heat, being lazy, having feed in front of them in the barn. I don't have a nice free stall, I have a tie stall, so I make my girls graze more. I do tighten them up also, so I would divide this probably into 6 sections, even just this little part here, to make them trample more. Being dry as it is, that will also give you more lag time to be able to give the rest of it rest period. So you're making them work here, and you're going to graze, and you're going to give them a smaller section to make them graze, and then automatically you're just giving yourself more rest time by making them graze smaller, and because you have feed in the barn for them, they don't have to get as much out here. And all those extra hooves, you have what, 80, 90 cows in milk right now?
Yeah.
That's a lot of hooves on the ground. They're going to trample a lot. I've got 50 right now, and actually in the spring when we first started grazing, the grass got ahead of me in May, so I brought in a bunch of my first calf heifers that hadn't freshened yet to get that impact that I needed. And it's amazing to see the break where it was before I had the heifers and after I had the heifers. The stuff that actually has more animal impact recovers faster.
Yeah. And that's been my experience. I'm not going to equate beef cows that I'm not trying to finish, but cow-calf pairs. I'm not going to even try to equate that to what a dairy herd has to accomplish in a day in terms of nutritional requirement and their production. But what I have seen is where you tighten up your stock density, increase your density, and then increase your rest period. It'll happen by itself when you increase the stock density. The rest period will, as you described, you end up coming off a pasture that looks like it's been clipped, because even, you know, the willow leaf goldenrod has been trampled or it's been eaten. That's something that people don't remember, but cows and other ruminants are competitive eaters. You ever been to a pie eating contest or a hot dog eating contest? Ruminants are really competitive. When they get onto a pasture, if there is a limited resource base, if it is green and it is not running away from them, they are eating it or trampling it. Either way, it's a win, because you're getting organic matter to soil contact, and often it becomes a sandwich where you have soil, organic, plant matter, and then manure on top of it. And the more uniformly you can get that manure and hoof impact distributed, you will not get compaction on the soil. That's a fallacy. In terms of species, some of the work done at Michigan State shows that sheep are actually more detrimental to the soil in terms of compaction in a tight mob than cattle. And part of that is because they have those little teeny hooves. Anybody familiar with a what's it called? A sheep's hoof? Roller? Compactor, right? Why do you think they call it that? They're modeling it on the sheep. No, but when you have that sandwich of soil, plant matter, manure, you really get the best possible growing medium for fungi, bacteria, dung beetles, earthworms, and all the other little beasties that are going to make your soil a really healthy place for your plants to grow. But Chris's point about the seed bank, anybody know how long clover seed will remain viable in our soils here in the Northeast? 80 years. 80 years. If there was ever clover on this before it was corn, there is clover seed in here that will work. You don't have to buy it. You just have to create the growing conditions appropriate for the seed to germinate and proliferate. And I've seen that on my farm where I've spent $500 on seed in 18 years. And my pastures are predominantly tame forages like clover, bird's foot trefoil, orchard grass, timothy, and then these other forages like willow leaf goldenrod, which is pretty good with balsamic vinegar. And on that note,
It's for lunch.
we're gonna head back up to the barn because that's where all good creatures eat, is at the barn, and move on from there.
How high are you sticking your pastures?